Shravanam Diaries podcast.
Hare Krishna everyone, we are continuing to read the Bhagavad Gita as it is, the book by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Chapter 10, The Opulence of the Absolute. Yesterday we've read the first verse of the Chatuh Sloki. The 4 verses of Chatuh Sloki, verses 8 to 11, are the 4 verses that describe the entire Bhagavad Gita in brief. So yesterday we read number 8. Today we're continuing with the text number 9. Machita mangata prana bodhayantah parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanticha ramanticha. It's my favorite verse, by the way. One of my favorite verses. Tushyanticha ramanticha. Translation: the thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. Purport: pure devotees whose characters are mentioned here engage themselves fully in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Their minds cannot be diverted from the lotus feet of Krishna. Their talks are solely on the transcendental subjects. The symptoms of the pure devotees are described in this verse specifically. Devotees of the Supreme Lord are 24 hours daily engaged in glorifying the qualities and pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Their hearts and souls are constantly submerged in Krishna, and then they take pleasure in discussing him with other devotees. In the preliminary stage of devotional service, they relish the transcendental pleasure from the service itself, and in the mature stage, they're actually situated in love of God. Now, this is very important because the activities of Krishna consciousness, they're so wonderful that they themselves give pleasure, even though we don't have love of God. Like, say, if you're reading the Bhagavad Gita, or if you're chanting the holy name, it itself, there's happiness involved. Or if you're taking prasadam, right? It itself is the source of happiness. But then when we're mature, we'll be actually experiencing love of God. Okay. Once situated in that transcendental position, they can relish the highest perfection, which is exhibited by the Lord in his abode. Lord Chaitanya likens transcendental devotional service to the sowing of a seed in the heart of the living entity. There are innumerable living entities traveling throughout the different planets of the universe, and out of them, there are a few who are fortunate enough to meet a pure devotee and get the chance to understand devotional service. This devotional service is just like a seed, and if it is sown in the heart of a living entity, and if he goes on chanting and hearing and chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, that seed fructifies just as the seed of a tree fructifies with regular watering. The spiritual plant of devotional service gradually grows and grows until it penetrates the covering of the material universe and enters into the Brahmajyoti effulgence in the spiritual sky. In the spiritual sky also, that plant grows more and more until it reaches the highest planet, which is called Goloka Vrindavana, the supreme planet of Krishna. Ultimately, the plant takes shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna and rests there. Gradually, as a plant grows fruits and flowers, that plant of devotional service also produces fruits, and the watering process in the form of chanting and hearing goes on. This plant of devotional service is fully described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 19. It is explained there that when the complete plant takes shelter under the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, one becomes fully absorbed in love of God. Haribol. Then he cannot live even for a moment without being in contact with the Supreme Lord, just as a fish cannot live without water. In such a state, the devotee actually attains the transcendental qualities in contact with the Supreme Lord. Yeah. The Srimad Bhagavatam is also full of such narrations about the relationship between the Supreme Lord and his devotees. Therefore, the Srimad Bhagavatam is very dear to the devotees, as stated in the Bhagavatam itself, 12.13.18. Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam. In this narration, there is nothing about material activities, economic development, sense gratification, or liberation. Srimad Bhagavatam is only the narration in which the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord and his devotees is fully described. Thus, the realized souls in Krishna consciousness take continual pleasure in hearing such transcendental literatures, just as a boy, a young boy, and a girl take pleasure in association. Enjoy. It says here that when the plant of devotional service takes shelter under the lotus feet of the Lord, one becomes fully absorbed in love of God. He can't live for a moment without contact with the Supreme Lord, just like a fish can't live without water. I remember my dad wanted to make a music video. He wanted to record this song, and in the music video he wanted to animate a fish which will be singing, "Get me back to the ocean, get me back to the ocean." And people will try to please her, offer her something, like the car, offer her some food, and she would be singing, "Get me back to the ocean," in the sense that we're living entities, we're spiritual, and we're in this material world, and nothing will satisfy us because we need to get back to the ocean. Yeah, my dad has so many ideas like that. Yeah. Okay. Text 10. And this, of course, the conclusion that just like a young boy and a girl take pleasure in association, the souls who are realized in Krishna consciousness, they take continual pleasure in hearing transcendental literatures. Not just the holy names, but also transcendental literatures. For the love of God, please read Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, I beg you. And take pleasure in discussing it with others. We need this right now. We need everybody to be involved in this crucial activity. Yep. Text 10. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamupayanti te. Okay. So, to those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So Krishna says, Dadami, I give Buddhi Yogam, real intelligence. Right, okay. That was the question last week, right? Last week Q&A. Purport. In this verse, the word Buddhi Yogam is very significant. We may remember that in the second chapter, the Lord instructing Arjuna said that he had spoken to him of many things and that he would instruct him in the way of Buddhi Yoga. Now, Buddhi Yoga is explained. Buddhi Yoga itself is action in Krishna consciousness. That is the highest intelligence. Buddhi means intelligence, and yoga means mystic activities or mystic elevation. When one tries to go back home, back to Godhead, and takes fully to Krishna consciousness in devotional service, his action is called Buddhi Yoga. In other words, Buddhi Yoga is the process by which one gets out of the entanglement of the material world. The ultimate goal of progress is Krishna. People do not know this. Therefore, the association of devotees and the bona fide spiritual master are important. One should know that the goal is Krishna, and when the goal is assigned, then the path is slowly but progressively traversed, and the ultimate goal is achieved. When a person knows the goal of life but is addicted to the fruits of activities, he is acting in karma yoga. When he knows that the goal is Krishna, but he takes pleasure in mental speculations to understand Krishna, he is acting in Jnana yoga. So when we're addicted to the fruits, it's karma yoga. When we're taking pleasure in mental speculation, it's Jnana yoga. And when he knows the goal and seeks Krishna completely in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, he is acting in bhakti yoga or buddhi yoga, which is the complete yoga. This complete yoga is the highest perfectional stage of life. A person may have a bona fide spiritual master and may be attached to a spiritual organization. But if he is still not intelligent enough to make progress, then Krishna from within gives him instructions so that he may ultimately come to him without difficulty. The qualification is that a person always engage himself in Krishna consciousness and with love and devotion render all kinds of services. He should perform some sort of work for Krishna, and that work should be with love. If a devotee is not intelligent enough to make progress on the path of self-realization, but is sincere and devoted to the activities of devotional service. So sincere and devoted to activities of devotional service, the Lord gives him a chance to make progress and ultimately attain to him. And how does he do that? The last verse of the Chatuh Sloki. Tesham satata yuktanam. Oh wait. Yeah. Every time I get too proud, Krishna always puts me down. Actually, even when I was doing Bhakti Shastri, I would always Tesham satata yuktanam Bhajatam priti purvakam. That's this verse that we've just chanted, text 11 and text 10. I would constantly mix them because it starts with Tesham, meaning for them, right? Tesham satata yuktanam. We've just read it. And now the verse that I'm supposed to read, text number 11, Tesham evanukam partham. Tesham for them, eva, certainly, anukampa artham, to show special mercy. So please, Krishna, show me some special mercy. I also beg you, so that I would not embarrass myself in front of my audience on the podcast. Teshamevanukampartham aham agyanajam tama nashayam yatma bhavastho gyanadipena bhasvataha. Jai. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. Jai. Purport. When Lord Chaitanya was in Benares, promulgating the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Thousands of people were following him. Prakashananda Saraswati, a very influential and learned scholar in Benares at that time, derided Lord Chaitanya for being a sentimentalist. Sometimes Mayavadi philosophers criticize the devotees because they think that most of the devotees are in the darkness of ignorance and are philosophically naive sentimentalists. Actually, that is not a fact. They are very, very learned scholars who have put forward the philosophy of devotion. But even if a devotee does not take advantage of their literatures or of his spiritual master, if he is sincere in his devotional service, he is helped by Krishna himself within his heart. So the sincere devotee engaged in Krishna consciousness cannot be without knowledge. The only qualification is that one carry out devotional service in full Krishna consciousness. Jai. You know, this point about the fact that, like Srila Prabhupada says, they're very, very learned scholars. Devotees are very, very learned scholars, and we can see that devotees have, like in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in one of the purports, Srila Prabhupada writes that devotees have so much literature, and, you know, any Mayavadi would be like, would consider it's far out. Devotees, they're very, very philosophical, and they are scholars. But even if the devotees don't take advantage, because it's basically taking advantage, and I would say that primarily many people I've met, it's not like they don't like to read, they just don't take advantage of Prabhupada's books, that's all. Because it's not a priority, that's all. But they could be good readers if only they would find some time, right? So even if you can't take advantage of the literatures or of the spiritual master, because sometimes you ask the spiritual master, because spiritual master, he's a reader, right? Reader today, leader tomorrow. So spiritual masters, they're very profound readers, all of them. Like, I don't know a single spiritual master in ISKCON who is not a reader, honestly speaking. They're like so incredible, like they're very deep scholars, most of them. So then if you don't take advantage of the spiritual master, meaning like you ask questions and then spiritual master will answer you based on Guru Sadhu Shastra. So even if you don't do that, if he is sincere, and again we have this topic of sincerity in the past couple of verses, isn't it? Yesterday we talked about sincerity, today we talked about sincerity in this verse and the previous verse. Sincerity, why is it so much about sincerity? What do you think? I believe that actually when I was about, how old was I? I think I was 7. Was I 7? No, I was elder. When I was about 9 or 10, I heard Niranjan Maharaj. I had a friend who was inspiring me in my Krishna consciousness. Her name was, at that time, Anandini, and now she is Ati Sundari. She and her husband, and her kids, they live in UK. So Ati Sundari, I will address her with her present name. She would very much inspire me in my Krishna consciousness when I was 10 years old, 11 years old, and she was the one who explained to me what is Garbhada Kashai, Kshirada Kashai, and Karanada Kashai Vishnu when I was 10 years old, and I still remember it. And she was telling me that she's waiting for initiation, but it will take time because her Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Niranjan Swami Maharaj, he took a pause in giving initiations. And even though I was already 10, or to be exact, even though I was only 10 years old, I already wanted to take initiation from my Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Bringa Govinda Swami Maharaj. So, and I heard about that in Niranjan Maharaj's pause, and I became a little anxious. Gopal Krishna Maharaj, Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, he arrived to the place where we lived, which is the community, Sukhareva community. So then we went for darshan, and Darshan Maharaj asked, are there any questions? And I think that was the first time I asked a question to Maharaj. I don't know why, I don't know, nobody inspired me technically from outside. I just raised my hand and I asked this question. I asked Maharaj that I didn't say that Niranjan Maharaj stopped giving initiations, so does that mean that I should rush with taking initiation from my Guru Maharaj? Because that was the actual question. But I raised my hand and I was like, so I hear that some gurus, they stop giving initiations, so should we rush with our own initiation? So I was like being very subtle. And Maharaj looked at me. I remember he smiled and he said that you don't need to rush, you just need to be very sincere. Yeah, so basically sincerity is the key, and we've read it many times before. What does it even mean to be sincere? Does it mean being wholehearted? Does it mean being very, very honest and to be authentic? So I'm sure we can all we can all address our own dictionaries and address and find out for ourselves what does it mean, sincerity. But Prabhupada, he emphasizes sincerity many times. Sincere devotee. So he says, even if you can't take advantage of the literatures, or you can't take advantage of even spiritual master, if you're sincere in devotional service, then within the heart, what does Krishna say? To show them special mercy, he destroys ignorance with the shining lamp of knowledge, right? What was that? Jnana Deepena Bhasvata. Jnana Deepena. He destroys the ignorance. Jai. So the sincere, Prabhupada said, the sincere devotee cannot be without knowledge. And actually later on in the Srimad Bhagavatam it will be described that there is Chaitya Guru and there is Shri Guru. Shri Guru is external manifestation of the Chaitya Guru. Chaitya Guru is the Guru within the heart. And I really like how in 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam it's also described that a materialist, he sees everything around him as a manifestation of sense gratification, and the spiritualist, he sees everything around him as a manifestation of Shri Guru, as a manifestation of Shri Guru to learn from it. He sees lessons everywhere, and there's emphasis on Chaitya Guru as well. And another thing is that I believe that this point is really something that makes our devotional service or our spiritual life alive. I really don't admire people who consider that, yes sir, blind following and mindless execution of orders of the superiors is what they call spiritual life. I really don't really admire that. In the beginning stages, yes, when you just come and you hear no meat, fish and eggs, no intoxication, no gambling, and no illicit sex, and you're like, yes sir, and they're like 16 rounds, 4 regulative principles, like yes sir, Mangalarati, Ekadashi Vrata, yes sir. But then like Bhaktivedanta Maharaj, he says that, when we're babies and we say Hare Krishna, and we're like, oh yes, my little baby, this is so cute, oh he's so, yeah, okay, we got it, it's wonderful, that's very cute, that's very sweet, that's good for you. But then when you grow up and you're already 5 years in the movement, 10 years in the movement, 15 years in the movement, 50 years in the movement, I don't know how many years you can be in the movement, and then you're still Hare Krishna, and then you expect people to react in the same way, then you can't really, it becomes uncomfortable for everybody, So similarly, there is a natural growth that is expected with the spiritual life, and the natural growth is that like you come to the stage that you're developing your sincerity and you are associating with Shri Guru, be it Shri Guru externally, Shri Guru, be it taking advantage of the literatures, and also definitely Chaitya Guru. The more we are progressing in devotional service, the more we also establish that connection in the heart. What else I wanted to mention? Is there anything else I wanted to mention in that regard? No. Okay. So, continuing the purport. The Mayavadi philosophers think that without discriminating one cannot have pure knowledge. For them, this answer is given by the Supreme Lord. Those who are engaged in pure devotional service, even though they be without sufficient education and even without sufficient knowledge of the Vedic principles, are still helped by the Supreme Lord, by the Supreme God, as stated in this verse. The Lord tells Arjuna that basically there is no possibility of understanding the supreme truth, the absolute truth, the personality, supreme personality of Godhead, simply by speculating. For the supreme truth is so great that it is not possible to understand Him or to achieve Him simply by making a mental effort. Man can go on speculating for several millions of years, and if he is not devoted, if he is not a lover of the supreme truth, he will never understand Krishna or the supreme truth. Wow. This is so sweet. Lover of the supreme truth. Wow. So we can go on speculating for several millions of years, we can go on chanting Nama Paradha for millions of years, and if we're not devoted, not sincere, if we're not the lover of the supreme truth, we will never understand Krishna. This is a very, very strong statement actually. We should take it gravely. We should not take it lightly. It's our millions of years we're talking about. So, Prabhupada says he will never understand Krishna or the supreme truth. Only by devotional service is the supreme truth, Krishna, pleased. And by his inconceivable energy, he can reveal himself to the heart of the pure devotee. Jai. The pure devotee always has Krishna within his heart, and with the presence of Krishna, who is just like the sun, the darkness of ignorance is at once dissipated. This is the special mercy rendered to the pure devotee by Krishna. Yeah. Sometimes you see these, simple devotees. Yeah, they're not like they're reading, like not the fact that they're not reading scriptures is because, they don't like to read, but because they really it's not their nature. They're very, very simple. Or it's not like they don't take advantage of the spiritual master. They have the spiritual master, but they don't really see him, or they don't have much association in their remote areas of, residence. They don't have that opportunity to talk to some, Of course now we have internet, but say, just for the sake of example, I know such examples. But you talk to them, and just because, they are very sincere, and no, wait, the example that I have, they do have books. Oh, they take advantage of books. Anyway, I'm sure there are examples that, they're devotees who just, just because they're very, very sincere, the special mercy comes. No, books are really incredible savior for those who can't take advantage of the spiritual masters association, or it's really far out. Actually, I know, the family I'm talking about is a family of Vaishnavas from Ivanova. They have a little library, but I wouldn't say that they are scholars. Of course, every devotee initiated, even if they don't read Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam every single day, they have to have it in their house, right? That's the standard. So in this particular family, they strike me as very simple devotees, and they may read books, but they do it, they do it not in the way that scholars do, let's just say. But I clearly remember that this Mataji, they fed us breakfast, they helped us because we were supposed to transit to Moscow. And then this Mataji, I was looking at their bookshelf because that's where I will look. And then Mataji, she took out the Vrindavan Mahimamrita, and she looked at me and she looked at this book, and then she told me, yeah, sometimes we read and cry. And I just I heard that, and I'm just in Russian we say something got stuck in my throat, in that way, the feeling that she said that. She's like, yeah, sometimes we read and cry. And I just Krishna Chaitanya, Krishna Govinda. And so they may not be studying Bhagavatam day and night, or they may not have much of association, because Ivanova is a very small town. They have a temple with 3 brahmacharis there. And but basically they're very sincere. They have deities, they do kirtan, and they may be busy with their agricultural fields most of the time of the day, but they're very sincere. So we've read this, right? That the pure devotee always has Krishna within his heart, and with the presence of Krishna, who is just like the sun, the darkness of ignorance is at once dissipated. This is the special mercy rendered to the pure devotee by Krishna. Okay? Due to the contamination of material association, through many, many millions of births, one's heart is always covered with the dust of materialism. But when one engages in devotional service and constantly chants Hare Krishna, the dust quickly clears, and one is elevated to the platform of pure knowledge. The ultimate goal, Vishnu, can be attained only by this chant and by devotional service, and not by mental speculation or argument. The pure devotee does not have to worry about the material necessities of life. He need not be anxious, because when he removes the darkness from his heart, everything is provided automatically by the Supreme Lord, who is pleased by the loving devotional service of the devotee. Haribol! This is the essence of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. By studying Bhagavad Gita, one can become a soul completely surrendered to the Supreme Lord and engage himself in pure devotional service. As the Lord takes charge, one becomes completely free from all kinds of materialistic endeavors. Jai. Haribol. Wow. Next verse is Arjuna Uvacha. Next verse is Arjuna will be saying, replying to Krishna. Interesting. The next verse, Arjuna says, Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram Paramam Bhavan. Krishna, I thought that Arjuna said that to Krishna after seeing universal form. Okay, see, yesterday or day before yesterday, I was driving with my husband and we were discussing that there is optical illusion. You know, there is this optical illusion photos that you look here and then it looks like this, and then you look again and then it looks different. There's optical illusion, and we were discussing that there's also what is that? Tactile illusion. That we were driving and then suddenly my chadar fell on my knee, and I was thinking that some bird or something, it touched my knee. And I was like, ah! So it's like there is also literary illusion when it comes to studying Srila Prabhupada's books. Sometimes I also have that sequence-wise I was thinking that this verse was there, but actually it's not. Right, so tomorrow we shall read the text 12 to 13, starting with the Arjuna Vacha Param Brahma Param Dham.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. The book links, previous episodes timeline, and biography of the author can be found on shravanamdiaries.com. The link is in the description, and we shall see you tomorrow.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama